It's recorded. Okay. Gotcha. Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Miss Marie, how are you today?
No, that's pretty nice. Should have played a lot better, right?
Yeah.
I should have brought sprinkles. Sprinkles makes everything better. I'll take him with
Still got the tab on it. Sorry, I totally forgot about that. Okay, it is 6 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is introduction of the commission. Carla, we'll start down here with you.
Marcia Miller-Smith.
Stella Amy.
Todd Ritchie.
Rick Mans, Chuck Sebastian.
Eric Lowry.
Martin Nichols. Luke Taylor.
Okay, I'm gonna assume everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes from the last meeting. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes that anyone knows?
I propose we accept them as read here.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
You just go right ahead.
Okay, Mark seconded. Motion's made and seconded to accept last meeting's minutes as presented. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, December's minutes are approved. The first item of new business, since we didn't have a January meeting, is normally on January's meeting, we decide who's going to be president and who's going to be vice president. So,
Well, I'll make a motion that we keep the current president and vice president in office.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, Bernie.
okay, so I guess all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Great.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Well, that being said, no, go ahead, Eric. I'm gonna let you, I'll let you read that. And,
So starting this year, we're gonna begin each meeting by reading this preamble. What we do here is fairly complex, and sometimes it's hard for folks to really understand how this process works. So we're gonna read this at the beginning of each meeting, just to help folks to get a handle on what it is that we're doing here and how the process works. And so if you'll indulge me for just a moment, we want to welcome you to this meeting of the Scottsburg Advisory Plan Commission. This meeting is being video recorded for future publication. The Advisory Plan Commission operates under guidelines found in the City of Scottsburg zoning ordinance and subdivision control ordinance. Applications brought before the commission will be evaluated against those ordinances and on the merits of the application. In this meeting, each applicant will be given the opportunity to present their project, followed by a public comment period. During the comment period, individuals may speak in favor of or in opposition to the application. Questions may be asked of the applicant or the commission. Speakers are asked to keep their comments and questions brief and to the point, focusing strictly on the application itself. And especially with a large crowd like we have tonight, we are going to ask for a limit of 3 minutes per speaker so that all interested parties may have the opportunity to participate. After the public comment period is closed, the commission will conduct their own discussion. At the conclusion of this time, the commission will vote on the application. The outcome of this vote may be to send a recommendation, either favorable or unfavorable, to the Scottsburg City Council, or to table the application for further consideration at a future meeting. If the project contains certain elements, additional steps may be required of the applicant, such as submission of a development plan, approval and the acquisition of required permits, etc. The role of this commission is merely to review the applicant's compliance with the appropriate ordinances and to make a recommendation to the Scottsburg City Council. The council has the final authority to approve or deny any application.
Thank you. Okay, so the first one we have tonight is PC 1-23.
Okay. Yeah, TC 1-23 is Jeff and Jerry Mills' project for Highway 356 in Vienna Road. It's highlighted up on this screen. It has a little over 32 acres of land, and they would like to develop duplexes, single-family residences, and a few businesses. Your guys all have a legal tally in your packet, along with all the information, but the contractors are here to present. So, you guys can come on up and I'll take care. You can stand wherever you want. I'll get this up for you if you want to just stand in front of me. That's fine.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, if you could pull that overview. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. There was an overview of the color.
Okay, good evening. My name is John McCoy. I'm a civil engineer. My company is JLM Engineering. I'm located at 720 Rolling Creek Drive in New Albany, Indiana. And I'm here on behalf of applicants Jerry and Jeff Mills. And then we also have Mr. Alan Applegate, their attorney, with us as well. So what we laid out here on this first sheet is a proposed plan unit development, kind of an overall view of what the Mills would like to see happen on this 32-acre piece of property that they own here at the intersection of State Road 356 and Vienna Road. Right now, it's a wooded piece of property. It's vacant. There's nothing on the property except at the southwest corner there is an existing building. But what we have proposed, starting down here in the southeast corner, the blue area would be a commercial area of approximately four lots. The property just to the east of that tract in brown would be larger residential tracts. The section in yellow there, the middle section, would be single-family residential. The top section in gray would be a multifamily section, duplexes. And in the area in green, on the northeast corner would be reserved for stormwater detention and green space park area for the residents. And that's kind of an overall view of the property and the surroundings. So if you could go to the development plan. So this is more of a detailed layout of the proposal. So you can see that we've got basically 3 commercial tracts planted there at the southeast corner or southwest corner of the property. There at the intersection of State Road 356 and Vienna. And then just directly to the east of that would be larger, residential lots, 4 of them approximately 2 acres. And then just north of that, there would be a single-family residence, and right now we're showing 47 lots. Those lots are 55 feet by 100 feet in dimension. And then north of that would be the duplex, proposed 30 duplexes on those lots. And that residential section, you can see, would be interconnected with access from Vienna. And the commercial section would have access from both Vienna and State Road 356. And of course, the larger residential lots along 356 would have drives that come off the state roadway. The infrastructure is in place there existing to serve the proposed development. I'm not saying that we may not have to do some upgrades or extensions of utilities to make that work, but water, sewer is there, and of course you have the main 356 thoroughfare there in Vienna Road that runs north up to the city. As far as safety goes on the highway on 356, that sight distance is pretty good. There's a high point there close to Vienna Road that the sight distance is good. The speed limit's 40 miles an hour through there. Not that everybody obeys that, but and then there's also the elementary school, so it's it drops to 30 mile an hour during school hours. So you do have that as a plus as far as speed factor through that area. As far as stormwater drainage, everything drains naturally from south to north or southwest to northeast. The low point on the property is up at the northeast corner where we show a proposed stormwater detention basin. And of course that would be designed to retain all of the excess runoff from the property, so to limit any downstream future stormwater runoff to the pre-developed rate that would meet your ordinance. But we feel like that this is it lays out well with the way the property is positioned. The utilities are there, the access is there, and I'll let Mr. Applegate kind of share some more on the zoning aspects, you know, based on your comprehensive plan that you've developed. So,
Thank you, John. Alan Applegate with Applegate Piper Pulliam, 428 Meigs Avenue in Jeffersonville. Sorry, I was a little late. I think I was driving around the Samtec parking lot, but it wasn't for lack of wanting to be here. So I ultimately found it. So you can take a guy out of Jeff, you can't take Jeff out of the guy. So my apologies for running in a little bit late. Well, you've seen the overlay of the planned unit development overlay. Planned unit developments are intended to provide a mixed use as opposed to a single residential zoning classification to suit the needs of a particular property and obviously serve the community. When considering a PUD, which is a zoning classification, you need to look at your zoning mandates under state law. And the first thing you should probably consider is the comprehensive plan. I believe it's got a very new comprehensive plan. Chapter 2 of that, envisioning and plan goals, was to encourage development patterns that spur desired growth and maximize public investments. Goal 2 is to provide housing options for residents of all income levels and ages, encouraging residential growth that will increase the population and provide a foundation for future commercial and industrial development. So I've printed this from your all's comprehensive plan. What I saw from the comprehensive plan, well, there's a strategy there. Housing strategy should include evaluation of the various housing types and the real estate required for those housing types. And that, I think it's emphasizing that the scope of housing strategy is no longer limited to the development of a typical single-family owner-occupied home or subdivision, but it needs to consider denser use. I think the scope and goal of the comprehensive plan was to bring housing to Scottsburg, which then leads to the need for other commercial services to serve those residents. This is in your comprehensive plan. It seemed to be in your opinion, does the existing amount of each land use type listed meet the needs of Scottsburg? And 62.79% of the people thought that it needed more housing in Scottsburg. So in terms of following your consideration of comprehensive plan, and I'll leave that if you want. Put that as part of the record. I believe that this project certainly meets those goals of providing housing, which then would spur commercial uses. Current conditions of character, the current structures and uses in each district. Obviously, this is raw ground, but it is near a school. People living in these houses will probably have children, some of which would be attending the school. Thank you. Primarily agricultural in the area. If you look at your zoning map, is this the zoning map? Or is this just, I see industrial down the street. We have R1 residential along 356. I believe there might be industrial over here, a short portion over here, but it kind of a mixed use in this area generally. And I believe your comprehensive plan is shooting for mixed uses and not having uses quadrant off or segmented off. So, having commercial there would allow these residents to perhaps avail themselves of those commercial uses without even getting in their vehicle and providing, strain on your all's existing infrastructure. I believe there is sewerage in the area. Obviously, they won't be able to build this unless they get the sewer lines to the property. plenty of the property has been already designated for drainage, and it drains away from 356, so you're not going to be adding to, stormwater runoff right out on culverts, et cetera. The most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted, I don't know, I mean, it's ag land, I guess it could be adapted to any uses, but it is right next to residential on one side, and quite a bit of residential that is zoned ag, so there's a lot of residential area in the area to start with. Conservation property values throughout the jurisdiction. The mixed-use concept of a PUD is designed to allow the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. It's trying to provide multiple uses within a zoning classification, which again, your comprehensive plan says, hey, let's try to get residential, get more people living here, then we can get more people going to the local businesses. You can see on the intersection 31 and 356 intersections of zone general business, short hop, skip and jump away. So there's already business infrastructure within a stone's throw, if you will, to serve those residential communities anticipated by the PUD, as well as the commercial use along 356 that's envisioned by the PUD. And finally, responsible development and growth. I think that's something that you all as a group have to decide whether it's responsible development and growth. The applicants certainly believe that it is, and we hope that our presentation has made it appear as such. Would the applicants like to say anything, or?
We wouldn't just show that PowerPoint there, just some of the designs and some of the layout of what we're. Right.
I think that she can get back to that.
Yeah.
Do you want to
Or just do that PowerPoint, yeah, just show some of the modern design as far as the duplex. There's about four different floor plans.
Would you stand up and talk?
Of course.
We can hear you a little better.
Yeah, of course. I'm Jeff Middleton. Okay, we'll, these duplexes are just in reference of the design, becoming a more modern steeple roof line of the subdivision there. So, you can just go ahead and start that if you want, or just switch it however you want to do it. So, this gives you some 3D view of how we do the duplexes. And every duplex will have a garage. They'll have garages. In all the single-family homes will all have a garage. So everything has a garage, concrete driveways, et cetera. And the exterior veneer is going to change. We'll do some of it with some masonry, some of it with hardy pipe board siding, and different vinyls and stuff like that also.
How much ground will each one of those sit on? How many?
It, on that other drawing, it has the block dimensions. They're an 80-foot square on there. The other house is 55 by 100.
How many?
55 wide by 100 feet long. Yes, on the houses. These houses are 4 different floor plans. Some of them are 2 bedrooms, some of them are 3 bedrooms. We have one drawing that's a story and a half. They're all fairly close, within 5 feet of the footprint. So this would be the type of housing that we'd be building here. Most of them, well, all of them would be on concrete slab. We've built some of these houses in town already, so they would basically be a duplication that we've done these same things for several years, really. So, there's a couple of them here. That's the same houses right there. That's the 3-bedroom versions right there. One there is on Main Street. This one here was up in Crothersville, which we built the big porches on and things. So that's just kind of an overview of what. That's not the exact picture of the drawing that we're building, but that's very similar.
And how many houses will be on an acre?
Well, it's in a lot. I don't know.
The lots are 55 by 100. And the single-family residential tract, I believe, is just under 10 acres for 47 homes.
47 homes?
Yep.
On how much ground?
I think, can you pull up the,
55 by 100 is .12 acre. Just a tick over a 10 of an acre.
So you want to see it just
47, yeah, 55 by. Well, that color exhibit shows the total acres
Oh, okay.
of each tract. I thought it did. No, it doesn't. Okay, that doesn't, I'm sorry.
And also, let me just go ahead and say this, these are, we have no intent, our plan would be to keep these as rentals. We're gonna build these and rent them and own and manage them in turn. We're not selling these, we're not gonna be, not gonna be selling these homes. We're gonna build them, manage them, do all the maintenance of the yard. So this would be a personal developed home.
Is it gonna be a low-income type facility? Are you gonna sell the homes?
No, ma'am, we're gonna rent them.
How much do you plan on running them for?
I don't know.
How can we hold you to what you just said?
What do you mean?
You say you're not gonna sell them.
Okay.
The very next day you build them, you can sell all of them. We don't have any rights.
I understand. Well, I don't, that's what we're, that's what we're going to do. That's our whole business.
Guys, let's hang tight real quick. We'll let them finish, and then when they're finished, everybody will get a turn down.
Well, that's our business, there's our business plan, okay? Our business plan is to start the development, start building, start renting, and just let that evolve. We've seen this happen in Scottsburg, a few other places. You just build and rent as you can, and just keep on building more. So that is our plan as a right. That's what we're doing. That's the whole, everything is based on that point of view.
I would like to add to that. If this is going to be owned by a single individual, then the property would not have to be platted. And I'm talking, if this was owned by a single individual, the property would not have to be platted, which is laying off lot lines, coming to the plan commission, asking that a plat be approved so that it meets the development standards associated with the zoning ordinance. If they intended to ever sell, then they would have to come back to the plan commission and ask that the property be platted. If they were to sell a single side of a duplex, because there are duplexes anticipated in here, they would need to come to the plan commission and ask for a plat to basically allow a lot to be split down the shared wall of the duplex or patio home unit. So I think that, and all of subdivision control ordinances and so on require public notice. So you as adjoiners and neighbors would be made aware of something happening on this property if they elected to sell or piecemeal it off, if you will. So they're, how can you know what they're saying? I mean, I'm trying to answer that question, that there are some government controls that will hold that statement, at least if it was going to be sold, you would have another chance to come and discuss that subdivision plat at that time. With that, I'll hopefully just.
Okay. Anybody, you guys have anything else? Okay. Carmen, do you have anything else to add to?
I do not.
Okay, so I guess at this time, we're gonna open it up to public comment. I'm sure there's a lot of you that want to make comments, so let's just try and be respectful for whoever is speaking at that time, and also try to hold it to the 3 minutes if you would. Okay.
I just have a question. When the attorney referenced it, or someone referenced the comprehensive plan for the city of Scottsburg, this area isn't the city of Scottsburg, to my understanding, so how does that piece together? Can someone educate me on that?
So I'm not exactly sure when, but sometime in the past, in previous administration, what? Yeah, go ahead.
So in 2018, the city adopted a 2-mile jurisdiction around it, kind of a fringe zone to have zoning jurisdiction. And with that, our comprehensive plan kind of covers the fringe areas like Vienna and further west of town as well. And it just encompasses, you know, if in the future Scottsburg grows and anything does annex in, it gives the city more control. So that was done in 2018, maybe 2019. So that's why it's coming here.
They already have control of this property.
It's in our zoning jurisdiction.
2-mile buffer is only if it has city utilities of any sort. So it's not just a 2-mile buffer. You have to offer city utilities for that to be, part of the city.
Right, and this has
jurisdiction.
water, and I think it's also on city electric, I believe, so it meets all of those
It's aided
criteria.
utilities,
So if you guys wanted to see the ordinance, we can get it up.
So does that
It's
mean
a
we
lot
can
of
vote
legal.
for city council now? Or run for mayor? Or run for mayor?
I'm not,
I mean, if you're gonna,
Not till it's annexed.
exactly, so
We would get the vote.
you can tell me whether I can do it or not.
No.
Speaking of mayor, where is our mayor? Is he not?
He had a medical procedure today and couldn't make it.
I would like to know where the entrance for the industrial complex on the corner is, because I'm right across the street from that house.
It looks like it's going right to my sidewalk, right to my front door.
Just pulled the-
Jeff, can you point it out?
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you that's where it's going, right to my front door.
I'll try to zoom this in so you can see a little bit.
And then I think I seen that it was a 12-foot buffer, so basically we're gonna have businesses and homes 12 feet from the road.
That road is already clogged enough during the school hours. We have a hard enough time trying to get in and out of our houses there, and you're adding more traffic. We don't want an industrial complex across the street from our house.
Well, there's two to the residential.
How industrial are you?
Right. It's commercial, I think, not
It's
industrial.
commercial, it's not.
So it'd be like a store, correct me if I'm wrong, is that what you're thinking? Store, restaurant kind of thing? Because I don't want, we're not talking a factory.
Right, no.
Because
That's,
this is,
correct me if I'm wrong.
could the attorney explain in the PUD, the commercial section, what is being listed as being allowed?
Right. That's kind of what we're looking
But
for.
isn't
I'm
it-
sure to answer her question.
The PUD is a zoning district, and with that incorporates the district components that are tendered to the Plan Commission as part of the PUD. Meaning that it's an overlay, but the rules of the PUD will govern the development of this area. So what was tendered to the Plan Commission, and that's development standards. With regard to the commercial, what's been tendered is, in our proposed ordinance that we tendered, says the sub-district identifies as proposed commercial tracts. So industrial's not in that terminology. The development of the sub-district would be permitted only in accordance with the development plan approved, meaning coming back to the Plan Commission to show what's going to go there. The permitted uses would be storage and accessory uses, including but not limited to retail sales directly related to that, and conditional uses which would be compatible with permitted uses in the subdivision district that meet the other standards contained in Article 9. So again, it's referring back to your zoning ordinance to incorporate some of those standards in. In terms of setbacks on the city street, it would be at least 25 feet,
It's not a city
not
street,
12.
it's a county road.
On Vienna Road, it would be a 50-foot setback. and the maximum lot coverage would be 70% of the lot, meaning 30% would be unimproved.
So 50 feet from my driveway will be a business?
Yes.
That's what you're saying? My driveway's here, I'm right on 2954, I'm right there. So 50 feet from my mailbox is going to be a business.
If ultimately what is developed there is a business that decides to go 50 feet, it might be 70 feet, it will be somewhere
And it will
close to
be a
50 feet.
business that will require a big truck to come through and more traffic to clog the corner.
Potentially, which would obviously, create tax revenue and those kind of things which your comprehensive plan anticipates.
Roy, I think you got it first, so go ahead.
Okay, tax revenue, so I want to ask, where's the tax revenue going to go? Does it go to the county or the city?
Well, I think it would be, Mike, wouldn't it?
It'll still go to the county.
It would be county unless it's annexed
Okay,
in.
I got another question. Who appoints this commission?
There are different people who appoint it. Some members are appointed by the mayor, 2 members are appointed by the county commissioners to cover the 2-mile fringe. We have a parks board member, an engineer member, a board of works, and I think that covers it.
The
So-
city council.
Oh, and city council, yeah, so.
I'm just trying to get some of this.
Yeah, so
So we
Todd and
understand what we're
Carla are
doing
your
here.
2 fringe members, and they're both here tonight.
Because we don't, obviously, none of us in Vienna have representation here, other than our county commissioners.
Yeah, Todd and Carla are your 2-mile fringe members, and they're both like,
No, we're not, because we don't get to vote in the city elections.
They're appointed by, they're appointed by your commissioners.
Okay,
The city has no control over
Okay.
those 2 seats. Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay, hang on, I'm trying to stay in order here. Normally you're second. Go ahead.
Has a study been done which really evaluates how the traffic flow is really going to work with this many additional units being funneled out on Vienna Road?
So that will have to be done at a later point.
I mean, to me, that's where you start. Because Vienna Road is a narrow 2-way road. It's suitable, I think, for the traffic it's currently on with the houses that are on it and the people driving from Scottsboro to 356, let's say. But if you funnel, it looks like there's 2 roads accesses coming out of the subdivision where the duplexes and the single-family residents are coming from. There's 50 houses there, 30 duplexes there. How many cars are going to be coming out there trying to get on Vienna Road? Do school buses go on Vienna Road?
Yes. Absolutely.
Are there going to be other cars coming out there? The road like that is not even close to being suitable for that kind of capacity. And so to me, I think that has to be addressed up front before you can even think about going further down the road with this.
Okay, Norman?
It's designated as a public utility development, correct? And if that is okayed by whoever okays it, is it not true that they can put anything they want in there after it's approved? It could be a trailer park, it could be what they're saying they're gonna do. I mean, is that not true?
Greg, you want to address that?
It's, the statute that is proceeding there is a planned unit development, which simply means, and one of the most common reasons you would use that is because of mixed uses and mixed development standards in the various districts. So they're incorporating residential standards and uses for the residential areas. They're incorporating commercial standards and uses for the commercial area, and only those listed, only those enumerated uses can be constructed without coming back for additional zoning approvals, either an amendment of the planned unit development ordinance or a variance from the BZA. So other than that, they have to build what is permitted in the commercial and residential zoning districts that they're incorporating by reference. They can't build anything else.
But that could be. I mean, I'm just saying, if they change their mind and they think, well, let's do something else, I
They
mean,
have to come back and get an additional approval or approvals.
so if
can't
they
just-
change this plan,
if-
they'll have to come back.
If they want to do something that's outside of what the designated uses and development standards are in this ordinance, they have to come back either to this board or to the BZA. If they come back to this board, it then has to go to the city council for approval.
And actually, what we're here tonight to decide is merely the zoning
You're
change.
making a recommendation to the city council
Yeah,
as to
just a
whether this
recommendation,
PUD district should be established.
I have another question.
Okay.
My property joins this on the right side. And
Yeah, you're
back
right,
where
yeah.
they're wanting to put this pool is swampy anyway. So where's all this water and drainage going to go when it's over on me?
Right through my property.
We're the other side. The
You're
whole
the-
other side's gonna be covered with duplex.
Okay, if you want it, because we have a couple people with that question, you want to address
Got a
that?
big sump pump in
Right.
mine or something?
Well,
or-
All the water runs to our
The
property.
the way that we normally would design these basins are, it looks like a large depressed area. So I understand that's probably a wet area, which makes sense because it's the low point of the property. However, that will all be cleaned up and that basin will be created and designed to store all the excess runoff that's gonna run off the streets and the homes. It will store all that water and only release it at a rate that it drains now.
And
So
what will be put there to release it?
it's
And
a,
and I don't, it's
Right.
gonna come over on me, it's just
Yeah, it's-
common sense.
no, it'll be released by gravity, so there won't be any mechanical pumps.
I mean, there's a creek back there.
Right,
There is a creek that starts on their property and goes down and behind me and down in a bottom. And then here comes another creek, and the creek goes around to
Right.
other people's property.
I understand what you're saying. What we would do is actually build a berm around that perimeter of the property. So it would be a U-shaped berm or dam, if you will, earthen embankment that would hold all that water back. So in a heavy, heavy rainfall, that basin would fill up, but it would overflow at a very slow rate through an outlet control structure that's built into the berm. So it's,
Well, the creek that goes in, under the road and into their property and down on me and around, will they keep the creek there, or will they pipe it and then cover it up and let it all dump back in the
So-
back?
So the natural drainage through there will be maintained. So that same creek will flow through either flow through the basin or around it.
So I'm gonna get the creek
Well,
and the runoff from this division.
What I'm saying is the basin is designed to control it, so that it's not, you're not gonna see an increase in the runoff on your property in stormwater, as far as the volume or the rate. That's what they're designed to do.
But that still doesn't tell me where the water's going.
Well, it's going,
I mean,
theoretically, it should go the same place that it's going now.
At no greater rate than exists now.
Yeah,
There's
Now,
more
there
than
may be
just
more
that
water,
area
but
it
if-
goes.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
have the property that is north of this property. If you go back on the picture slides, when it's all color, just show my property. Yep, right about, if you see the gray area, or the north property, we own the 10 acres that borders the whole north side of the planned development. There is the creeks in the back where the pond is, which they were talking about. But also, about halfway back from our property, if you see the number 1217.00, about where the 00 is, going all the way north through my property, there is a big low point, goes down. And you cannot see it from the road. If you look back on my property, it looks like it's flat all the way back, but it is not. There is a big dip in there. And a dip continues onto their property also. It will take, there's an underground stream that runs through there. And so a lot of water goes through there also, goes through my property and then over to, was it Hilltop Drive? Over there. So I know we're gonna have the pond in the back, which will take care of the creeks in the back, but what about the area in the middle? And then also up front towards Vienna Road, right where our driveway is, we have tons, there's no actual creek there, but when it rains, we have tons of water already that runs off of their property onto our driveway, through our garden, so half our garden doesn't grow, and then back through onto Hilltop Drive. And so, like I said, the pond's in the very back, all that water's come from the front, in the middle, and it all goes north. So how is all that water gonna get all the way back to the pond, or are you gonna address the front portion where it drains onto our property, middle portion where it drains onto our property, and the back portion?
Yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about, because the topography, you can see that, where it comes down, the low point right there, the number 12 basically is the low point, on that north side. So what we will do is divert the surface water to the northeast, to the new basin, to the green corner.
And I
So
know on
all
that
of the-
property also, it's dipped down that way going onto your property, you can
Right.
see. And, it's gonna take a lot of dirt to build that up, because you can't just
Right.
build houses on a slope. I mean, you don't realize how far it dips down, but when you're just looking onto our property, but it really dips down a lot. You could drive a school bus down in there and you wouldn't see it from the road.
Right.
It just disappeared.
Yeah, and based on the
It's a very low
contrast,
point.
And there's
Right.
sinkholes all through that valley. I'm assuming that there's probably sinkholes in this property that you're developing on top of also.
right. Of course, all those issues will be addressed when we get into the development and design stage. But from a conceptual standpoint, we will be able to handle all the stormwater and divert it to the basin, to the proposed detention basin area that will control the runoff. So the neighbors will not see an increase in stormwater. And the city and the county that's why they have these ordinances in place, that control that.
I mean, we have a lot of green space right now there that, the water can sink into, and then it goes down to our area slowly. It's not a huge influx of water coming through. But soon, we're going to have if this happens, we're going to have roads that are in there, we're going to have houses, and very little yard space in between the houses, very little green space for the water to soak into first.
Did you still want to say anything?
Yeah, that's kind of going off what she's saying, we got a lot of green space with, where the water's got somewhere to go into the ground. We're gonna make 70% of this roof and driveway and roads, so it's gotta have more water flowing through our properties than what it has now. I don't see how it wouldn't.
Hang on just a second, Dave.
Can you put up our PowerPoint, please? I've got 3 minutes, I know, so anything that's been on.
I've been lenient so far. We'll try to, I want to make sure everybody gets their chance.
First, I want to say, I'm a newbie to this town. I'm a newbie to Vienna. My family wasn't here during the Pigeon Roost massacre, so that makes me a newbie. So bear with me, okay? I understand. But I tried to take things that people called and texted to me and put it into a PowerPoint. I don't want to get into a dueling PowerPoint with these gentlemen. They did a good job. I'm sure it cost you a good deal of money. It fits with the comprehensive plan. I'm also an insomniac, so I've read the comprehensive plan. And you've got it right on the button. I'm not denying that. But we're going to go over real quickly some of the taxpayer concerns that we have here that represent all these people here. Can you click, please? We're going to go quick. I'm going to talk quick. Excavation, we've talked about it. You guys have a green space. I call it a mud bog. I've walked all over that property with permission from the previous person. Your stormwater retention pond, I call that a mosquito breeding ground. And I've got water in my yard right now that still hasn't ran off. I'm not sure I trust you on that. Next one, please. Ecological, we've got a bobcat over there. We've got a committee of black vultures that roost in those trees. You're going to cut that all down. Where are they going to go? Maybe they're going to go into town. Maybe they're going to go to the farmers. I was hoping to find an endangered Vienna toad over there so we could just get it rid of it and we wouldn't have any trouble. But I didn't. But there's not going to be any trees left. There's going to be very little grass, please. The schools, we've talked about it. My goodness, that's going to be an impact. That's going to increase the student-to-teacher ratio I taught for almost 40 years. Every time you lower that, you're going to lower your test scores. You're not going to serve your children as well or your teachers. Transportation costs. The district's combining bus routes now. So we're going to have a problem with transportation.
Possibility 113 homes, the national child rate is 1.94. That's a possibility of over 215 additional children. You think our schools can handle that? I wish there was someone here from the schools.
There
Good,
you
all right. Oh, there you are. Hi, Dr. Slade.
We have the superintendent and the school board member
Oh,
here.
good. Your turn. Impact of number of the officers needed for protective service, volunteer fire department. I know we've got somebody here from that. Please. Utilities, everybody's talked about it. We got the highest rates ever. I got half it when I moved up here. Can our utilities handle it? I don't know. Traffic, you all talked about that. We're gonna have gridlock in Little Diana. I mean, that's amazing. We've almost got it when the buses come up to the schools nowadays. What happens when we got the railroad time? Population density. I know you have the right to ask for a zoning change. I know that land's gonna be developed. I'm a farmer. I got 80 acres. That's not a big farm. But I know what acreage measures. Okay, you got 30 duplexes. I'm not going over this. But look at the bottom. Multiple studies, and I can provide them to you, indicate proportionately you have more problems the more dense your population is. Please. Vienna, we're very diverse. We're probably a little microorganism of everybody. We're racially and ethnically more diverse than most of the populations around here. We got one ass, and no, I'm not talking about any of my neighbors. We got a donkey that's a mayor there, lets us know it's our own alarm system. Historical significance, we aren't Mayberry by any means, but we're darn close. Yes, ma'am. If you will take a look at this, this is something some of you were alluding to. I did the math. If you take a 55 by 100 lot, that's 1/1300ths of an acre. I could take a poll and find out how many people in here live on 1/1300ths of an acre. To give you an idea, would you do that again, please? To give you a visual graphic, and I brought my basketball, but the playing court at Meyer Gym, okay, the football field is 360 feet by 160 feet. If you go to Meyer Gym, it's 84 by 50. Okay, think about it, 50. You know what Meyer Gym is, and that's me laying down. That's 55. I take out the cheerleaders, that's it, okay? If you get to 84, that's the gym, and that's me laying down and stretching my arms. That wouldn't even get you to the concession stand, and that's the size of their life. You can't buy a hot dog and Coke. You're going to be right in the middle of the bleachers. Now, my last thing. I know this is a pressure cooker tonight. Be kind to the board. They're our neighbors, and they care to, and I thank you all for being kind to them. But I'm going to tell you, folks, you gentlemen have the right to come and say this. But you also have the right to know that the people that are going to be the neighbors of the people that you are there are not really thrilled with this. If you had come with some type of a development that wouldn't impact us as so much, we'd welcome you. We're good people. But this, guys, goodness sakes, 1/1300ths of an acre, all those people, I'm done.
Rentals.
I've lived in Vienna since 1961, and it's a peaceful, nice location. I've talked with Mr. Mans about the parking situation, the bus situation. They'd be parked all the way back up in front of my house. I live in the second house down.
Folks, let's quiet down and let her talk.
And what I'm against, we have found out in Vienna, we had a big drug bust across the road from where I live the other day. 40 people were in the house. This is people on top of people. Believe it, what you want to. I'm not for rental property. I'm for you building them and them being respectable homes and selling them to respectable families. I don't want Vienna turned into a drug city or town or country or whatever you call it. But it's never been as bad as it is now. And our school couldn't handle it. The roads couldn't handle the traffic. And I don't want to take up any more time, but this just will not work. This plan won't work. No duplexes, no rental property. People need to own them. They take pride in their place then. And we can keep the drugs and
the violence out. You know, you get to the point where you hate to have to pack a gun all the time, but it's coming to that.
Okay, quickly, guys, we're closing in on an hour on this, so anybody else?
Yeah.
John?
So, I got just a couple quick questions. I'm gonna hit on something completely different. Have they provided a letter of intent to you guys on the commercial properties at all? Of anybody wanting to rent those spaces or set up for those spaces at all? Okay, my second point is, you know, I do rentals, so I'm not gonna knock on rentals, sorry man, I do them. We try to keep respectable people in as best we
You're a
can.
good one, though.
My biggest problem is there's no boundary lines, this isn't plotted out, so if they do go to break this off at some point in time down the road, those property lines are gonna be a freaking nightmare. I think everybody can agree to that. So my stance on this is that they're using the PUD as an excuse to avoid a platted. I'd like to see it be platted if they're gonna do anything, is that the correct term? With everything surveyed out, everything marked out, and let's get the lots so that we know whose is whose. They can still retain ownership, but if they have to pay for all those surveys, it's gonna be fairly expensive.
Greg, you wanna address
Yeah,
that?
under the PUD statutes, the last section of them incorporates the subdivision control requirements for a plat. So if they want to sell off, I think it was 4 different commercial lots, if they want to sell off 6 different 2+ acre lots, and if they want to be able to sell off duplexes on lots, either with a single unit or 2 units at a time, each of those has to be on a separate lot when this process is complete. So there will be a plat. I don't know what it'll look like, but we're not at that point yet. We're talking about the permitted uses, the commercial and residential uses, and the development standards that they're taking from your existing ordinance and applying it to those uses. That's what you're recommending to the city council tonight, either favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation. That's all you're doing tonight.
Mr. Waters?
Yes, I have got the property just north of those people where the sewer system ends. And to start with, we won't go into that, this is not tonight, but it is not big enough to take 1/3 of those houses. When it was put in 20 years ago, I tried to get it to go bigger, and they turned me down. But anyway, my concern is the density of those duplexes. The only playground, there's only 10 foot between the houses and 12 foot behind the houses. And as a Scott County kid that roamed this part of the world all my life, my woods over there, which I've got a shooting range in, will now be the focal point of every child over the age of 8 heading to. It's not, I'm like the rest of them, I'm not for development, I knew it was going to be developed. But the density, has anybody ventured to say how many people they are expecting to live in on these houses? I come up with around 350. That's 150 cars to the house coming in and out. But I am more concerned about where these children are going to play. They've got this green area. Like I say, it's the swamps now. We start running all the city water. I'd like to show you my drainage ditch that comes across the neighbor's property. You can put a house in it inside of those over the years. But it's unusable land, so I don't care. But we get along with it. But it's the density of the houses that I am really concerned about. We've got a 6-inch water main. The water company says, oh no, it won't handle that much. Is the city going to put in a 12-inch main? We're having enough trouble putting a 12-inch along the highway. When we're, but the density, could we give them playground rooms behind these houses, take some of those duplexes out? Could we even go to housing like they show in the middle, where they'd have room to move around? The kids that are going to come there, and I'd like to know how many of these they're planning on turning into Title VIII, government subsidy housing. Who's going to take and manage these kids? How am I going to keep them from being behind my rifle range when I crack open with a 30-06? I have got steel, I have got berms, I've tried to make it the best I can, but it's worrying me sick. If I should hurt a child, I couldn't live with that. And that is my biggest gripe, and I think the biggest gripe everybody in here is the density. Not it's going to be divided, it's the density. And once you okay that plot plan, it's pretty hard that they can go back and change it and make it bigger. Thank you.
Okay, anyone Roy, again, quickly here.
Well, I'll just let y'all know, I'm Roy Binkley, I'm the guy with the turkey in town in Vienna, so, sorry for all that. But anyway, it was a whole fiasco last week. Yeah, he got out and
Oh,
went
you
over
got
to
a
school,
turkey, so you
wanted to play. But anyway, I worked for the city of Scottsburg for about 7 months last year, and I was part of several projects around here. One being Moonglow Estates up there. We put in sewer mains up there on dirt. Who's providing the infrastructure? Who's paying for the infrastructure? For
This,
this?
the sewer is, regional sewer, if
Okay.
I'm correct. It
Yeah,
would not
it would be
be.
the
Who's paying for the water and electric then?
Wouldn't,
That's infrastructure.
yeah, shouldn't be.
Stormwater. Storm
Those, Moonglow, that was through the redevelopment commission,
But, right, but the city paid for it.
through the redevelopment commission.
Yeah, but city employees did put it in.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. You're right, Roy. Sure we did.
Because I'm just bringing that out.
Right,
because
we,
it's being
that
told
was
to some people,
just
but no,
what-
the city didn't do that.
No, that's true. We did that, that came to the city council, we approved 2 developments a long time ago.
Sure.
We developed Moonglow and Beechwood, and that it would be paid through redevelopment. Now, beyond that, the city council hasn't, never been approached about another another piece of property. I can just tell you from a councilman's point of view, president of council, we've never been approached. We were approached 2 developments, Moonglow and Beechwood. And we approved that, the city would help with infrastructure, but there is no other. So this would not be a city project.
So the
According to
city's
me, from the city council point of view.
Yeah, so the
I
city,
can't speak for the mayor.
so as of right now,
I can only speak
the
for us.
city's not gonna put in the water and electric.
That would not be something that we would do.
And I also have one more question. I see you standing up on the
I'd
top.
like to address your point,
Yeah.
just real quick. We have had no dealings, undercover, behind the doors with Mayor Grant.
Yeah.
Mayor.
Amen.
I'm sorry, Mayor Grant. There's no, you know, you do this, we do that, there's been.
So you have no business dealings whatsoever like Bill Sears has?
I have no idea. I don't know who's Bill Sears.
You know who Bill Sears is.
I don't know who Bill Sears is.
You don't have any business dealings with the mayor?
Absolutely not. I'm gonna make that clear to everybody. There's no business dealings with him. City, there's nothing, no behind the scenes. We do this the other day. Zero.
Do you live in Scottsburg, can I ask?
I'm sorry?
Do you live in Scottsburg?
I just got one more quick question.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, that's all right. As far as, being on the city, working for the street department, we picked up trash, who's gonna handle the trash service with all this? Because I know how the city does it. They let people put stickers on bags, they throw the bags on the side of the road, they don't, there's trash everywhere. They can't hire people for the street department right now. They may have 3 people in the street department and 3 people picking up trash. So who's gonna handle the trash? What's the trash situation gonna be like? Because it's gonna be a disaster if the city takes care of it.
Sir, you've been wanting to speak right here.
Yeah, I just want to say, I live directly across the road from all these rental units, and that would make my house totally worthless. And I think this is really dirty politics. The Scottsburg politicians can destroy the whole community and everybody's housing values out there.
Well, I don't disagree with, the city, having jurisdiction over this, but unfortunately, that was done long before any of us were.
Well, I can't even vote against anybody.
I understand that, and
Why weren't we notified of that?
I've lived here since 2004. I didn't even know it.
I didn't know it either till
I
I was.
never received any letter
I had no idea.
or nothing.
I mean,
I don't know. Like I said, this was long before any of
should you
us.
guys, should the city be picking up my trash?
Yeah,
I mean,
if it's annexed, it definitely would
Have
be.
you all ever thought about how much ground the city of Scottsburg has taken from Vienna Township Fire Department? And just in the last few years, that's tax money that goes to our fire department.
So I can just address from my point of view.
Well, can I ask a question?
Sure, of
I don't
course.
quite understand. So we're not annexed?
Oh,
No.
So what are we?
You're in the fringe, in a buffer zone.
In the buffer zone, and what,
But it could be done.
so what
Oh,
does that
yeah.
mean if we're
Yeah.
in the buffer zone? I mean,
Right.
So,
It means this board and the city BZA is in control of land use decisions within that area.
That
That's all it
provide-
means.
that
That's
So
all.
what's the area center
That we
point?
provide utilities, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, you have to be providing
Right.
some services to be eligible to
Correct.
exercise that jurisdiction. And I don't remember what the details were, but I think water and electric were included and made you eligible to do this. But it doesn't give the city jurisdiction over any other service that it's not already providing. So you're still in the county, and whatever the county does or doesn't do for garbage collection is what will happen in your area.
I'd like to ask the developer, what's their plan for garbage collection? Because that's pretty major.
They don't collect it in county.
Exactly. We may not even have a dump. They haven't funded it yet.
So people will be coming to the end of my road and throwing their garbage out even more.
So can I answer your question?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's okay. You know, my view of this is that property that's near the city, we need to have a say in developing. You know, and I can just tell you, and this is, we can just talk, this is the board, this is my view, is that Vine is never going to be in the city limits. You know, if we're talking Moonglow, we're talking the west end of town that's bordering the city, that's going to be in the city eventually, I believe.
They've already took the left side of Moonglow Road.
Correct.
And
So,
also going to Walmart.
so we want good development that's planned, not just,
oh, I understand.
right. So I can just speak from my point of view. I don't know that I am for this project, gentlemen. I appreciate it. But I do not believe that Vine is ever going to be in the city limits. I think it should, the development should match the area around it. I have no problem with you bringing something like that closer to the city limits. I struggle when, you know, as an elected official, these folks don't get to vote for me
Yeah.
and making the decision for me.
We
Pardon?
we should be able to vote.
Well, unfortunately, because you don't want to pay the city taxes to get that privilege. Yes, I agree. So in that case, if an area was close to the city, then I view this a lot different than something that's
A mile
by,
away.
yeah.
We're literally a mile
I
away.
do not believe
from
by,
city limits.
yeah, I do not believe by an election in the city of Scottsboro. That's just my personal take. And I'm just expressing mine.
and I've got one in the back row up there, he's been waiting patiently.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't.
that's okay.
My question is, the developers that, you know, are wanting to do this, what's their experience level with?
Go ahead and stand up, Roy.
What's their experience level with an undertaking this big? I mean, this is a big deal.
Scott County.
Yeah, I mean, have they done this before? In a rental area this large? I mean, this is a big undertaking.
We've got a lot of experience in building and management.
Can you stand up so we can hear you?
Yeah, we've got a lot of business experience and building experience and management. We obviously, we don't do this every day, we don't have 4 or 5 B subdivisions laying around. This is something that my brother and I are gonna work together on, and it's gonna be it's a good size undertaking. But we're gonna put controls in place, manage everything, and we'll get into the details later in the future, hopefully with the details of the trash and all the maintenance of the yards and in this, we can kind of, you know, get a little more open, you know, or a little more details about that. But there's a lot of controls got to be in place from our end, from the management side, as well as bringing resources, people with experience to help us put this together, put the right plan together from the engineering, the attorneys, et cetera.
I have a question for you, if I can. Do you have any of these facilities you've created anywhere else?
Like this?
Yes. Nothing at all like houses? I know individual houses, but
4 or 5
communities
times.
like you're wanting to do here.
Sure.
Because I was told this would be the biggest subdivision in Scott County. That's what I was told, so.
You all built the Miller Edition, is that correct? Okay, and I know of a lawsuit that happened with a house that was there,
where there was no center support and the fireplace didn't have any flue in it.
I don't know this. I wasn't the only person building it. There's about 6 different builders in there. And that was way up in
The
the-
lawsuit included you all, and it included Bridgewaters and
I was the only
Okay.
lawsuit.
Lydia?
I just have a quick question. So you say that you have a lot of experience in management. So I'm assuming rental management,
Business
right?
management.
Business management. Okay, so you're telling me that, and going back to how much you're planning on renting these out for, because that's a big deal, right? So you're telling me that you've thought out and come up with this comprehensive plan without thinking about what your rate of return is
No,
going to
but
be?
I'm not going to sit here and talk in the beginning stages and say, oh, I'm going to be $800 a month or it's going to be
Okay, but you
$1,200.
said that you didn't know.
I don't know. We got to put, the math together. Complete. This is just a process. There's multiple
Right, but so
processes.
what are you thinking that your range is going to be? Because what we're concerned is, are you going, because I'm a landlord, I have rentals along with John, and so I know that what my rentals go for, and I have a hard time renting them for. So that's what I'm wondering. So if you're putting in this plan and major rentals, if you're not able to rent them, are you gonna start decreasing to the point where now you're renting them for,
And we're not going to
Section 8 type?
No, just so you understand. Any community can only absorb so much at one time.
Right.
We can't. So there's no way we're going to start building all the units at one time. It would be done a few at a time and allow the demand to fill them up.
Have you done a study on how many rentals are now in Scottsburg?
I don't know that number.
You should probably do that
I have-
before you do this. You should probably do that. And I'm not being smart. It might be a good idea before you come invest your money in something like this to see how many rentals are in Scottsburg.
Okay. Guys, yeah, I hate to leave anybody out, but we're an hour and 10 minutes in here. I think.
I guess I would ask too, does anybody have anything different that's been said? We're going over the same old thing, which is okay, but does anybody have anything different that hasn't been mentioned?
Back row here.
Stand up, please.
Yeah.
Just curious, once it all gets done, if it does get done, how much, I know somebody spoke about the fire department, but medical, fire department, school, how much of the rental money each year is actually going to go back into Bayonne to support the fire department?
Rentals don't.
Well, it'd be the county taxes.
Well, I know we were
County
so
tax.
it's not big.
It'd be the county tax.
Mike will decide that.
I have one question to the board. The county's area plan has new rules that says that if a developer is creating a new, what we consider a subdivision, but this is not going to be a subdivision because it's not going to be platted. My question is, we have a rule that says they have to put bond money up for the road system before they start construction, so that if the developer stops it, the development or does something different, that the roads will be completed with the bond money. I'm wondering if your board presents the same stipulation to developers that they bond the money up front for the roads into their subdivision, so that they don't walk away later down the road and the roads are not accepted by the county and they're not accepted by the city, and if this is private property, which it sounds like it's going to be, that they need to maintain the roads.
So that would fall, Mike, I'm assuming, I know as far as, it wouldn't be up to us.
Wanted to speak to
It's
that.
up to the,
Oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
up to the
Oh,
area.
Greg, I didn't see, I'm sorry.
So that's an issue to be discussed if and when a plat is filed. And then we would identify what are the public improvements. So if they're going to dedicate the streets to the public, which would be to the county, or the sidewalks, or the sewers, to whatever utility is providing sewer service. Those are public improvements. So for each section of the subdivision that starts construction, there will be an engineering consultant for the city will come up with an estimate of what they think those total public improvements in that section cost, and they'll have to deposit a bond of at least that amount of money for exactly that. If for some reason those improvements don't get improved or don't get constructed in that section, then the city can draw on the bond and use that money to finish those improvements in that section.
I guess, Greg, my question would be, I know we have say over this, but then who would have the say over the bond, being it's actually county property?
I'll have to work with Carmen to find out. I don't think we've had this come up before, so I suspect there's no process in place to decide who's going to administer this.
I mean, this is the first time it's been this far from the city limits.
Okay.
But the issue is that if they don't bond that, then who's gonna maintain the roads?
And you're talking, Mike, so that to clarify for everyone, you're talking about within this planned subdivision, or not subdivision,
correct.
but piece.
Because if it's not platted, and the county ran into this with other subdivisions that developers walk away from, and the county had to take it over, but they can only take over ones that are properly platted. If it's not platted, it's like, I'm not gonna throw somebody on the bus, but it's like Indiana land buying a farm and splitting it up in 2 acres. That's not a platted subdivision. So you can't, the county cannot take over those roads and those type of development, because it's not a development, it's technically a farm they just split up in 2 acres and put a road down the center of it.
I've got one back here that hasn't spoken
Yeah,
yet,
I
and
just
we
want to
gotta
know
shut
if you
this
all are
off
aware of
quickly.
how many houses are in Diana right now. There's only 45, and you're gonna more than double that right there. That's gonna be a toll on the sewer and everything. The roads, you'll have to fix the road before you can ever do that.
Real quick, because
I just want to bring up the quality of life of all of us living in Vienna. I have a medically fragile son that lives at home with us. Loud noises bother him. He has a lot of autistic tendencies, and also he has a lot of breathing problems. We have 16 hours a day nursing coming in to help him. When the sewer came through, he had trouble. He was in and out of the hospital from the dust and all this different debris and everything that happened just from the sewer. I can imagine the construction and the air quality that all of us are going to have to live with when this starts being built. And for how many years? How many years is it going to take to build this? I know all quality of life is really going to be detrimented by this. My son definitely. I'll miss work because he's going to be in and out of the hospital. He's going to be getting sick more often. He's going to be tormented with all the noise, and so are we.
okay, guys, I think we're gonna end the,
Can I ask a quick question?
okay, sorry.
My name's Clay House. I live right across the road from this. And the good lawyer mentioned the Scott, what was it, the comprehensive study they did, said 96% was in favor of more housing. Well, I think that clearly reflects the city and not the Vienna part, because by the round of applause earlier, that's definitely not reflecting our opinion. Some quick numbers, the average house has like 1.9 kids, so you're looking at 110 families in this, which is 220 kids for Admiral School. And your average house has 2.5 cars per household, so you're looking at 225 vehicles, which will be added to that 30-acre area. That's all I got.
Okay, guys, we're gonna,
One
Yeah.
real thing.
okay.
Just the way I don't know a lot about bonding, but you were talking about setting a bond that would cover if something, or a project was not completed, say the roads. But if you're going to build these rentals, kind of on an as-needed, you're gonna start, but then you're gonna build as the demand goes. When does a bond quit?
So, like I think, like Greg said, so a bond would be for, they would have to do a section at a time, bond that section.
And they'll have to keep that bond in place until that's done, or they won't be able to pull building permits.
Yeah, and then if they wanted to do another section, then they'd have to get another bond.
Which would require a secondary approval for final plat of a section back before you.
Yeah. Okay, let's get ready to vote.
I think you guys have been very good. I appreciate the tone that we've had this evening. I think that's a good reflection on the group here, and we as the board, I guess I can speak for the board, at least to that extent, to say we appreciate having a meeting like this where we all are speaking respectfully. I can speak, but for me to say that I'm very clear on pretty much everyone's position, this evening. I think we've heard a lot of good facts on both sides. I know we'd love to continue on and everybody'd like to have some more, but I'm not sure that we're gonna learn anything new. And I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody.
So
but-
at this time, I'm gonna open it up to board discussion.
So you're closing the public portion?
Yeah.
I have a few concerns. I live a block from the high school, and I know when school's out, it is a madhouse around there. And I worry about the traffic, safety of the kids. It's an elementary school. You're gonna have a lot of kids riding their bicycles to school. And like someone mentioned a while ago, the speed limit's 40 through there, but anybody doing 40 is liable to get run over. And another thing I'd like to bring out is I know how with rentals, you know, they all start out well, they all wanna, you know, we just want the best people here. But when they get behind and they're not renting them out, the people can't afford them, they lower the standards and that's what happens, in my view.
Anybody else? Marcia?
My concerns are, the lot size first, especially on the houses. I know that falls within the guide, the comprehensive, the 55 by 100. But 55 just isn't enough, in my opinion. I mean, if you took it and made them even 60, mine's 80 and I have 2 of them up front. And I live on Woodland Avenue here in Scottsboro. Okay, and besides that, the Beechwood subdivision is right there. So I know how y'all feel because that traffic's gonna be coming down Woodland Avenue, a lot of it. But I'm for progress, so I voted for them to put that in. The duplex sizes, it's 80 by 80, is that correct? I think that's what it was, okay. That's a little better. The square footage of the houses are 1,200?
Yes.
Okay, and the square footage of the duplex is 1,300? Okay. I've got a pretty small house, and it's not big enough for one person.
Right.
You know, mine's about 1,450. And so I just, if you're gonna put, you know, a family in there with 2 kids or whatever, I just don't think they're big enough. I know that falls in the
Well,
guidelines.
some of the drawings, you know, you get into it, they are 3 bedroom,
Right.
they are 1,400 square feet.
I
We
mean,
have 2
my,
entry.
you know, I would be tickled to death to see you guys come in and do something, but I think, in my opinion, go back to the drawing board and bring us something else. And I'm not really for a bunch of rentals going in housing area at all. I'm just not. If you wanna sell them and, you know, sell them, I'll back you, okay?
I have the same opinion. When I heard the word rental, that completely lost my support. I'm all for growth. I think there's a housing shortage here, especially for seniors. I know my mom is looking to downsize, and she can't find a house. I think what she said, go back to the drawing board and think about what's needed. I think they would probably welcome houses and things that people can own if you did the duplexes, less of them and more for what's needed in our community, would be for seniors who would take pride in their homes, who would want to own them and do right by the community. So I think if you guys could go back and rethink your plans, especially the rental part, more favor.
I have a few concerns. Mr. Slayton, how are we, as far as buying a school and taking on several more children?
We are pretty much at,
What you're done.
I have to use my old teacher voice. We are pretty much at max capacity for what we have right now. We had to add a teaching section and then move some people around. We have, right now we have some of our intervention services really in a glorified closet space. So we're neutral right now on all this. I just want that to be clear because we support growth. We support more homes. We're funded about 85% by children in the numbers that we have. So we're all about getting more and more kids to Scott County. And we also believe in a lot of what we're doing in Scott County. So
you would have to add on to your
we would have to
add on
majorly
to
add
college.
on. And as the residents here know, we knocked down 3 homes here recently to try to improve the 356 traffic issue twice a day. But we're pretty landlocked on that property and have had no success moving to the west of our existing boundaries. So we would have to be very strategic in what we do as a school district if residents, whatever type of residences come out there in the Diana area.
Okay, I know Carla needs to
Yeah, Carly,
get
I
going.
got a couple more questions.
Okay.
Okay, let's vote. I think we all know how to vote.
Well, excuse me, just a
I'm with Marcia on the size of the houses. If you want to attract people from Louisville maybe to move into our community, I think you need to look at larger size houses, more expensive houses with larger square feet, and I am not for rentals out there. The other thing is, on your infrastructure, are you planning to be annexed, ask to be annexed in the city and ask for the city to pay for your infrastructure and plan on doing that? You're gonna pay for your own roads, your own electricity. Okay, right.
Anybody else have anything?
Just very quickly, and I think maybe the group has been a bad request of us. I appreciate the fact that several of you said, we'd like to be good neighbors. It's not often that we hear folks come and say, we'd like to make good neighbors. So I think that's very, very positive. Someone said they didn't really care for duplexes, and certain ones maybe not so. But if you're familiar with the ones that were built around the golf course in town, those are very, very nice. So I think what we're all coming down to is if the project were reconfigured in a way to help reduce the density and bring in maybe some nicer level of size, square footage, et cetera, I think the response probably would be much different. So having said that, let me let you guys, I think you're going to make a request of us.
Well, the Plan Commission has the authority to table this, and we would ask that it be tabled to allow us to go back, take into account some of the comments made. We cannot please everyone. It's 37 acres, and it costs a lot of money to build roads and detention basins and houses, but they would like the opportunity to try to reconfigure and address some of the current concerns that are voiced in the table so that there's not a unfavorable recommendation from this board at this juncture.
But you would have to change it to where it wouldn't be a PUD, right?
No, they can file an amended plan. We just need to table it to a date certain. So if they think they need 30 days, if they think they need 60 days, but otherwise they would have to renotice a hearing.
How long would you foresee? 30 days? Okay. Do I have a motion to
Next
table?
month's meeting?
I would ask that if 30 days is fine, but I think, Carmen, how long do you need to review it before, and when does it go out in a packet to the board?
It goes out to a packet 2 weeks before the meeting,
So that'll
We
be
do
30
2
days,
weeks,
that would
so-
only allow you 14.
so the next meeting is,
So 60.
the next meeting is March 13th.
So what's the
And
meeting
the
in April?
deadline to apply for it.
Hey, what's the
is-
meeting in April?
Okay, the meeting in April is April 17th.
So you can have it to her by April 3rd, and that will work.
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion as such?
I'll make that motion that we table it until the April meeting.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded, the table till the April 17th meeting, which would give them an opportunity to come back with a different proposal. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There we go.
Will we be notified again?
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, what was that last question?
Would they be notified?
No, you're notified
This is your
tonight.
notice tonight.
Oh, you're notified. April, what's the date? April 17th.
I got a question. You sent out a certified letter to all the residents here, and you asked us to vote. Could you give us a tally of those votes?
Yeah, they're in the packets, actually.
Hang on just a second, I can tell you.
There was 11 objections I saw. Maybe I was looking at the wrong spot.
Okay, you're right.
11 objections.
So 19 letters went out, 11 people objected, and then 0 did not object, and 0 did not, so.
There were none
undeliverable.
Yes.
And I know for a fact that certain residences close next to this property didn't get letters.
We didn't get letters. I don't know how
Well,
close you have to
so
be.
that falls, Carmen, it's 250 feet.
Okay.
250 feet is the cutoff, so.
So if you're here and you didn't get one, it's because you were more than 250 feet from the.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, you're here, and you can tell those folks that it's gonna be April 17th. Okay?
Okay, guys, thanks very much. We're gonna move on.
Thank you.
If you guys want to file out before the next case starts, you're welcome to.
Learn more about this.
Of course not, not that easy. And then when they add, then it just pushes it on back. I did. Thank you for asking. Oh, yeah. I'm already.
Thank y'all, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Thank y'all so much.
There's definitely no lamp up here, okay.
Inside this door is about 20 feet. The original, I think still is, I said, both of them. I don't know what kind of.
I have never been.
Okay. I said,
Yeah.
hey, good to meet you. I'm a real big garage. That's a brick garage. And the garage is, it's 36. 26. I believe it's what it's.
Guys, we're gonna move on to the next one. You guys come on down.
I'm sorry you got that there. It's okay.
Okay. Folks, we've got to move on to the next one. Yep.
Oh, no.
Okay. So, next on the agenda is PC 922. And Carmen, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so this is a lot smaller. Okay, so PC 922 is Cameron's Ministries. They presented it to you guys in December, and it was tabled. Your architects have worked with Ravi to make sure it meets the code, this is the development plan. I'm going to close this door so it's a little quiet. Okay, so Cameron's Ministries has worked with Ravi, our engineer appointee, to make sure this meets code development. You guys can see that on your site plan. And then the only piece of the puzzle they don't have is the exact construction plans for the parsonage that would be on there. We are waiting on those. They should be available any day, so if it is your pleasure to approve it, we could, I'm not sure if you could approve it as a contingency or not, but everything else is available, and Robbie's given his stamp.
So we tabled the zoning change?
No, zoning didn't come before you all, it came before BZA. The use is
Oh, that's
already,
right.
the use is already approved. The
Okay,
BZA
that's what
notes
I
are in
thought.
there with all of the restrictions on the variance, so they're at the very back of your packet.
So do you guys wanna let them present, or we don't need to, since?
You guys can present, see anything you want to say, Alex?
Really, last time was kind of everything. I believe that we had to say, other than the changes that our architect had to make with the engineer, other than that.
The parking.
There was a parking, but I think he said those.
I wasn't here last time.
Yeah, you said.
I think we resolved the parking, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
all of the parking and the setbacks and buffer issues were addressed.
Okay.
No, I'm Alex, my name's Alex Riley. I'm the work, okay,
Okay,
so,
you're the Alex Riley, Mike.
I'm sorry, you weren't here last
Oh,
time.
I wasn't, that's why I said I wasn't
Sorry.
here.
My name's Alex Riley, Laura Deaton, her husband Shane, Wayne Berman, Paul Thomas, and one of our other board members, Tisha Vaughn, she's not present. We are Cameron's Ministry. My name's Alex Riley. I'm the co-founder and executive director. We are a 508c1a nonprofit church auxiliary. We're wanting to plant a ministry for men's discipleship within the community. Our main objective and goal is to provide spiritual regeneration and justification through the bloodshed of the Lord Jesus Christ. We want to preach the gospel. That's the only thing we're concerned with. I'm a Christian. I was an individual that was a nuisance to this community, and moral reform did not change me. Sobriety did not change me, although those things are wonderful, but we're interested in advancing the kingdom of Jesus Christ, and that's what we want to do. The spiritual regeneration that's taken place in my life. On a side note, about 5 years ago, I went through the Salvation Army in Fort Wayne Adult Rehabilitation Center.
Excellent program, I'm familiar with that.
Yes, I lived in the campus for 2.5 years. I was actually on my way to their seminary, but God had other plans. There was an individual by the name of Calvin Thomas that was the warehouse supervisor, and he asked me, he said, Alex, I see so many men from Scott County come up here, they take from their community, they come up here, they take from this program, and they never give anything back. And that really stuck with me, and at the time I didn't know exactly what that meant. But now that God has put all the pieces together, it is starting to make sense because He's given us a board and a team, and that's what we want to do. I was, like I said, a nuisance to this community, and this ministry wants to give back to this community and to help with the drug crisis. And to be quite honest with the board, even more than the existential drug crisis, the family that God created and established in creation is under attack. I'm against that. I'm against the satanic spirits that are coming against our children in the schools, that are trying to destroy the genders. I'm against all of that, and that's what we represent. We want to restore the biblical family, and we want to advance the kingdom. That's what we're about. And so we have a plan. We have a program. It's 15 months. Our vetting process is very thorough. We don't just accept people off the street. Laura she works with Sunrise Recovery. We have other avenues. The individuals can't just walk up to the property. They'll have to fill out applications. We will all have to interview the applicants. They have to provide financial support. They have to have sponsors to be able to come into the ministry. For example, 600 through one 15-month program, an individual will have to underwent 680 hours of biblical studies, 680 hours of prayer, and 520 hours of community service, whether it be me taking them in to pick up cigarette butts at City Hall, or Walmart or wherever it may be, we're gonna provide community service as well. And that's really what we're about, is to honor God and to help the community. And that's what God has brought me back here to do, that is to give back to the community that I've taken from.
So it's kind of modeled out like what you did at Fort Wayne then?
Yes,
Because I know people have gone through that program, been very successful.
yes, yes. Yes, I completed the program in 2017.
And that's run by the Salvation Army?
Yes, yeah.
And this is run by?
This is by us. Yeah, we are established.
But you're not affiliated with any church?
No, no.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be supported by churches, but technically we'll be an auxiliary of a church, so we're going to be a church ministry. So we won't be a church per se. We will have our doctrines, our statement of faith, and all of those things, but we're going to be a ministry to disciple the men, if you will.
When you said financial assistance for the people that go in the program, where does that money come from?
To go back, when I was on my way to be the seminary with the Salvation Army, and I had to actually come up with a sum of money to go, because they provide housing, food, education, clothing, transportation, all of it, room and board. And I had to come up with a sum amount plus monthly partners. I had to get 3 individuals, my grandmother, my aunt, and my other grandmother, that would pledge monthly amounts to the Salvation Army to help with my room and board. And we're going to expect these gentlemen to be able to do the same thing. And a question might be raised, well, these men are homeless or they're drug addicts, you're not going to be able to come up with this money. And I get that, but that comes into our vetting process, because I will be very blunt here. If I wanted to get high when I was a drug addict, I would have found the way to get the money that I needed to get my fix. So that's what we're expecting of the men. We're going to work with these churches, and I'm not saying they're going to go out. I'm not advocating for them to go steal or do anything that I was doing. But we're going to work with these churches within the community after we get approved through the board, that maybe these churches could possibly sponsor the individuals financially and through prayer. Laura has mentioned that we're going to give incentives as well for when the men complete, that they might be able to have scholarships to school and stuff like that. But we're not going to turn anybody down if they cannot come up with financial requirements. We're kind of up in the air about that, but that we are expecting to have that as a requirement.
But if they go out in the community and get jobs, I mean, are they going to work while they're there?
No. Excuse me.
You don't recommend that? You recommend them just stay?
They're going to be under my care 24/7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't want to cut you short, but we're here to approve their building plan, okay?
Yeah, let me ask you one question.
Sorry.
You said you're a 501
We're a 501c3. That is what we're classified, but we're under the 508c1a tax bracket.
Okay. So under that 501c3, do you know you can apply for grants?
We were aware of that, yes.
Okay. Okay, just wanted to talk.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any concerns or conversation about the building plan?
It seems last time we had a question about the actual funding being in place to even start building or start that. Now, you're talking about funding for the people who once are already there, but what's your current status in terms of actually being able to carry out the plan that you're presenting to us?
To carry out the financial responsibility
to
of the
be able
buildings.
to build what you're presenting here to us tonight.
We have been offset a little bit, because we have come up under the board that we don't want to promote it full swing 100%, because we want to get y'all's approval first. But we do, once we have the approval, Laura had presented to the board meeting last week, we are going to have a fundraising event in April. We have that. We have a 3-on-3 tournament. Now, those aren't going to be huge, money makers per se. We think so anyways. But we're also going to, we have a list of churches and individuals that we are going to start contacting. We're aware that this is going to take some time. We are prepared to accept that, and however long it takes. But our main focus for the finances is individuals, businesses, and churches that are going to fund the building fund.
Is the Thomases that own this, are they going to help?
It's actually,
This in? Okay.
Paul.
Are you involved in
Actually, I own the
some?
property.
Yeah, Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. No, I didn't, or I wouldn't have asked it.
So,
Paul owns the property.
Yeah,
They're
that's what I
talking
was
about
asking,
funding
yeah.
would be
The
for
funding would be to
building.
revamp the building
Yes.
there and build the park,
Okay.
parsonage next door.
So you, okay,
Yeah,
I
you're
know
all-
you know enough about,
Yeah.
yeah, how to do that, okay.
so having asked that, I guess that's the question. I'm not really sure about where our attorney go.
He's down.
No,
Sorry.
okay, over right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if that really is even something that we could consider, but the concern that I have is getting started on the project, getting 2 or 3 walls up, and now we're waiting 6, 8 months for more funding, you know, it becoming an issue of taking time to get the thing done.
The permit will expire after a year,
Yeah.
so I don't
It's
know
partially
if
built.
the development plan would either.
And I'm gonna make a comment, this is nothing against the current state of the building, because what happened couldn't have been helped, you know.
Right.
The majority of it burnt.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, my thinking is, and then, don't take this wrong, but it can be worse than it is right now,
Right.
you know.
I guess we're waiting for your approval before we get serious about trying to raise money, because we didn't want to go to people and take money from them and bring it back to them.
I get the whole
So-
horse and cart thing, you know, so.
Right.
We're trying to do that from this perspective. I am anyway, from this perspective too. I know that, we as a community have need for a program like this, and need
And
to.
and it's just
help
gonna
people.
house 8 men, it's not gonna be huge, but it's gonna be controlled. And it's not gonna be a homeless shelter, and it's not gonna be a rehab. It's gonna be for men who are serious about becoming in a relationship with God. So it's gonna be something different than the community's seeing.
And I guess the last thing then, that I think you said earlier, Carmen, that Robbie has worked with the team, has reviewed the plans, and has signed off on the plans, right? So, I mean, that's our engineer
He
who
hasn't
helps guide
signed
our
off on
decisions.
them, but yeah, he's given his approval, so.
Always given approval.
Yeah, we've worked over email with their architects, so.
And is this a use that would require a state design release?
It would.
Yes, we have an architect who's got
Okay.
that.
I
Yeah,
just
they
wanna
have the
make sure
plans,
that,
they're applying after they get.
I don't wanna have a loose end out there that
Right.
crawls out of the
But yeah,
woodwork
it'll
later on.
require a state design release, and they
Okay.
already got their
I
various.
think any approval should be conditioned on them giving you a copy of that state. You can't release a local building permit anyway without it, so.
Our architect said that I would take about 2 to 3 weeks to have once you guys approve it.
But if you're happy with the finishes, it's an existing building. I don't know that, you can change that footprint very much, but, but if you got any concerns about the finishes that are proposed for the building, now would be the time to make that a condition of any approval. But other than that, as long as they meet all the checklist items that are in your ordinance, you pretty much have to approve it.
And you're gonna revamp the main.
Yeah, the main building, yeah.
Yes.
New metal, new roof, new everything.
Yeah, it's, the schedule, which I've emailed Carmen, but it's extensive PowerPoint. They have to clean the building twice a day. I'll be overseeing all that. It's gonna be clean enough to where, it's gonna be very clean.
Well, I
Everything
think
will be
you can
brand
talk more about right where it's at now, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah. Yes, it will.
Okay.
Very good.
Anyone else have any questions, comments? Okay, is there, anybody want to make a motion here? Okay,
What motion will you make?
that we sent. In favor?
I'll second it.
Mark and Chuck seconded.
Is it with that? What Mr.
With that
Fryler said?
stipulation, yes.
It's got to be.
Now, I don't believe this goes to the city council because it's already been variance in
It's just
DCA.
an approval.
Just an
Okay.
approval. So, want everybody to understand, it's not going with a recommendation. This is it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so
We're
he's
at-
made a
Motion is to
proposal.
approve the building plan as submitted with the stipulation that we also get a copy of the state design release when it's approved.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed?
And I'm just gonna tell you, the reason I'm voting against this, nothing against, I can just tell you, my niece went through rehab. I'm concerned about the funding. I'm concerned about oversight. Usually churches are involved, Salvation Army. I think Alex is a great kid, had you in school, Liked you then, like you even better now.
Right.
But I have to vote what my conscience says, and I have concerns. So my vote against is not because I don't think we need this, but I'm more concerned that the cart's before the horse. Does that make sense?
No.
Well, I get it that we disagree, and reasonable people can disagree.
I do have a question. Is the vote unanimous or is it majority?
So.
It's a majority.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's not gonna affect you guys doing this.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna tell you from my point of view, I would have been much, if you had the funding in place, this is what we're doing, these churches are backing us,
Right.
I would be like, no question. I have, I just have some concerns.
You guys are stepping out and taking a chance.
Right.
As a board, we're stepping out and taking a chance.
Right.
And, so this is a government meeting, so I'll be careful, but I think we're all, looking to act on faith and, trusting this thing comes out as we all hope it does.
Yeah, I wish you well, I hope it works. Okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
6-1. Yeah.
Okay, you guys just have a director's report. Do you want me to just email it to you?
Just
Yeah.
email it to me.
Okay. Then
Okay.
motion to
Would you
adjourn.
go ahead and read it, Carmen, please?
Eric,
You can stay, Eric.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
So I'm clear, we did get proof.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, you did.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It is fine.
Good luck, Alex.
Thank you.
I wish you well, I do.
Thank you.
I do.
Thank you.
Well, usually I do this.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, that don't do that. Trying to get the laws Yes. Oh, does she? I love that girl. She's come around. So
Any relation to Lincoln Taylor?
Hey, Alex, you ready for getting lunch?
You'll jump in there, we'll get you going. Wes?
Yes, let me know.
I'm hanging in.
What are you doing, bro?
I'm doing all right, buddy. You doing okay? I'm hanging in there. I'm a little hungry. I'm ready to go home and eat. I know, you haven't been to plane. You're just tired.
Welcome to your first meeting. What'd you think? Oh yeah, I gotta turn this off.